I still remember the day I left home. My mom hugged me like she was afraid I'd disappear. She kissed my forehead and said, "Come back the same, promise?" I said yes. But I knew I was lying. Because war doesn't just change where you are. It changes who you are. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. I still remember how tightly my mother held me the day I left for basic training. Her arms were wrapped around me like she was trying to stop time. Like if she just held on tight enough, the bus wouldn't pull away, and I wouldn't disappear into that world she never truly understood. I was her baby girl. Her Lisa. The one who cried when she scraped her knee, who slept with the same teddy bear until I was 12, who danced barefoot in the kitchen with cookie dough on my nose. To her, I was still that girl. Even when I was standing there in uniform, hair tied back, boots polished, duffel bag slung over my shoulder like I was ready for war. She tilted her face up to mine, her eyes already red, and kissed me on the forehead. Then she whispered something I'll never forget. "Come back the same, promise?" I smiled. I nodded. I said yes. But I lied. Because I knew I wouldn't. Even then, before the yelling sergeants, before the endless drills, before the sand and the sweat and the silence, I knew. Something inside me already felt different, like the version of me she knew was folding itself into a box, making room for something harder. Something that could survive what was coming. War changes people. Not just in big, dramatic ways like in the movies. It's in the quiet things. The way you flinch when a car backfires. The way you scan every room the second you walk in. The way you can't quite cry, even when you want to. It starts in training. You stop being an individual. You start being a number, a part of a machine. You march, you run, you follow. You get yelled at for breathing wrong, and somehow you learn to breathe differently. You get pushed until your body is sore and your brain is numb. And then one day, without realizing it, you stop missing home as much. You stop writing letters. You start becoming a soldier. Then if you're unlucky enough, or maybe unlucky enough to be good, they send you over. I was deployed 7 months into my service. Afghanistan. My unit arrived just as the summer heat began burning the sand so hot you could feel it through your boots. We were stationed near Kandahar, tasked with convoy security. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't what recruiters talked about. But it was real. Every day we rolled out on missions that felt routine until they didn't. Until the day the Humvee behind ours got hit. I still remember the sound. The explosion wasn't loud in the way you'd expect. It was deep, like the ground itself had exhaled. The dust cloud was so thick it swallowed the sun. We lost a guy that day. Kenny. He was from Ohio. Played guitar in the evenings, even wrote silly songs about MREs. One minute he was laughing about some terrible canned spaghetti, and the next, he was gone. They told us not to think about it. Keep your heads in the game. So we did. Or we tried to. But something shifted in me. The night after Kenny died, I sat on my cot staring at my boots for 2 hours. Not crying. Not moving. Just empty. And that's how it starts. You build walls without realizing. You harden. You become quiet, distant. You laugh less. Your letters home get shorter. "I'm fine, Mom. Miss you, Dad." You don't write what's really happening because how do you explain fear to someone who's never had to feel it every second? I came back a year later. A flight from Bagram to Germany. Then to DC. Then home. It was supposed to be a happy day. Flags. Signs. Hugs. Mom was there, of course. She was the first face I saw when I walked off the plane. She had a balloon in one hand and her phone in the other, ready to take a picture. But when I got close, she froze. She just looked at me. Her eyes scanned my face like she was trying to find the girl she used to know. Like she wasn't sure it was me. Then she said it. "Lisa? Is that really you?" I smiled and said, "Of course it's me, Mom." I even tried to laugh. But inside I felt a sharp stab of something I couldn't name. Because the truth was, she was right to ask. I didn't walk like I used to. I didn't smile like I used to. I couldn't. The girl she knew would have run into her arms crying. The girl she raised would have talked nonstop the whole ride home. But this version of me? I sat in the passenger seat staring out the window, flinching every time a truck rumbled past. She tried. God, she tried. She made my favorite meals. She bought new pillows for my room. She asked gentle questions. But everything she said felt far away, like she was talking through glass. One night, I heard her crying on the phone. "She looks like Lisa," she said. "But I don't know if my baby came back." I cried that night too. Silently into my pillow because I didn't know how to cry out loud anymore. I didn't come back the same. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the point isn't coming back unchanged, but finding your way back to yourself in pieces. And maybe, just maybe, she doesn't have to recognize the uniform, or the stare, or the silence. Maybe she just has to recognize the heart still beating underneath it all. Because deep down, even after everything, I'm still her Lisa. I just needed time to find her again. Afghanistan. I still remember the exact moment we landed. The plane doors opened, and the heat hit me like a wall, thick, dry, and alive. It wasn't like the sun back home. This heat wrapped around you, got into your lungs, clung to your skin like it was trying to erase who you used to be. The base smelled like dust, diesel fuel, and something else I still can't name. A mix of metal and sweat and fear, maybe. It had its own rhythm. Generators humming, boots stomping, orders barked over radios. It was loud and yet somehow always too quiet. First I stood tall. I was proud. I wore my uniform like armor. It made me feel untouchable, like I was part of something bigger than myself. Like maybe if I walked straight and spoke clearly, I wouldn't have to admit how terrified I was inside. I smiled in photos. Sent updates home. All good here, Mom. Just hot. I joked with the guys in my unit. We played cards in the evenings, passed around bad instant coffee, made fun of MREs that tasted like dog food. It almost felt normal until the day it didn't. It was our 3rd month in. We were assigned to a routine patrol, just to sweep through a nearby village, same one we'd been through a dozen times. Locals knew us. Kids would wave. It was quiet. Predictable. That's what made it dangerous. Kenny was riding beside me in the Humvee. He was always humming something under his breath. Today it was that old country song, Take Me Home Country Roads. He loved that one. Said it reminded him of his dad. He was laughing at something stupid the radio operator said when it happened. A single shot. No warning. No shout. No chaos. Just one sound. Then silence. I didn't even realize he'd been hit. I thought maybe he dropped something. But when I looked over, Kenny was slumped forward. His helmet knocked sideways, blood blooming across the front of his vest. We screamed for the medic. Pulled over. Took cover. I remember yelling his name, shaking him, trying to pull him back to us. But he was already gone. A sniper. Just one bullet. 1 second he was here laughing and the next, nothing. We never saw who did it. Never found the shooter. Just an empty rooftop and a long quiet walk back to the base. That night I sat on my cot, boots still on. Eyes locked on the corner of the tent like if I blinked, the memory would flood in. But it was already there. It was inside me. I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't hurting, but because I couldn't. Something in me had snapped tight. Like a wire pulled so far it couldn't bend anymore. Everyone else seemed to move on, at least on the outside. The jokes stopped for a few days. Then they came back a little darker this time. The cards came back too. The music. Life kept moving. Because that's how it works in war. You grieve in silence or not at all. You don't have time to fall apart. Not here. But I stopped writing home. I stopped calling. What could I even say? Hey Mom, remember Kenny? He died with a smile still on his face. No, there were no words. Only silence. And in that silence I stopped being Lisa. I don't know when exactly it happened. Maybe it was the night I started sleeping with my rifle next to my bed. Or the time I nearly punched a guy for sneaking up behind me too fast. Or the moment I realized I hadn't laughed, genuinely laughed, in weeks. I became someone else. Someone who checked every shadow twice. Who scanned rooftops without thinking. Who walked through every village expecting to be ambushed. Someone who stopped dreaming because every time I did, I saw Kenny's face and woke up drenched in sweat. I wasn't scared the way I used to be. Fear turned into instinct. Numbness. You stop feeling the heat, the pain, even the hunger sometimes. You eat because you have to. You shower when you can. You wait. And wait. And wait. For the next boom. The next scream. The next body. You become a version of yourself that doesn't exist back home. You harden. You shrink. You adapt. And the scariest part? You start to believe that's who you were meant to be all along. The desert didn't just change me. It erased parts of me. Scrubbed them away like sand on stone. I lost more than just Kenny out there. I lost my laugh. My softness. My sense of safety. The part of me that used to sing in the shower. The part of me that used to hug my mom with both arms and never want to let go. People think the danger ends when you leave the war zone. But no one tells you the hardest part is when you come home. Because you walk off the plane expecting to feel relief. Instead, you feel nothing. Familiar faces seem foreign. Your room feels like it belongs to someone else. The silence of your house is louder than the explosions ever were. And you? You look in the mirror and realize even your own eyes don't recognize you. That's what war does. Not always with bullets. Sometimes with quiet. Sometimes with the absence of who you used to be. 8 months later, I returned. Same flight jacket. Same scuffed up boots. Same dog tags resting on my chest. But inside, something was missing. Something I hadn't even realized was gone until I stepped off that plane and felt nothing. No joy. No excitement. No relief. Just the weight of it all pressing down on me. The silence after months of chaos. The empty space where I used to feel like a person. I walked through the airport with my duffel bag dragging behind me. People clapped. A man nodded and said, "Welcome home, soldier." I nodded back, forced a smile, and kept walking. It all felt fake. Like I was sleepwalking through someone else's life. Then I saw her. My mother. Standing right near the arrival gate, gripping her phone like she didn't know what to do with her hands. Her eyes locked onto me, and for a split second they lit up. She took a step forward like she was about to run into my arms like mothers are supposed to do when their kids come home from war. But then she froze. Her feet stopped moving. Her smile faded. She looked right into my eyes, searching. Like she wasn't sure it was me. And then she whispered it, so softly I almost missed it. "Lisa? Is that really you?" I laughed awkwardly. Tried to play it off. "Who else would it be, Mom?" She smiled, nodded, even pulled me into a hug. But I felt the hesitation in her arms the way they didn't wrap around me like they used to. Like she was holding on to someone familiar, but unfamiliar at the same time. And deep inside, I knew what she meant. She didn't see her soft, bubbly daughter. The one who used to sing in the car, who baked cupcakes for no reason, who giggled through late-night movie marathons with her. That Lisa was gone. She saw someone harder, colder. Someone who didn't talk much anymore. Someone who smiled with their mouth but never their eyes. We got home and everything looked the same. The couch. The photos on the wall. The smell of her vanilla candles. But I didn't feel the same. It was like I had landed in a version of my life that I couldn't quite fit into anymore. I walked into my old room. The one with the faded posters and the closet full of high school clothes I hadn't worn in years. It looked frozen in time. I stared at the bed, the bookshelf, the lamp with the crooked shade. I should have felt comfort. I should have felt safe. Instead, I felt alien. Later that night, Mom made spaghetti my favorite. She sat across from me, smiling nervously, asking how it was. I told her it was great. I told her everything was great. It wasn't. I flinched when the microwave beeped too loudly. I stiffened when the neighbor's car backfired down the street. I kept glancing at the front door like someone might kick it in. I ate quietly, my back straight, eyes scanning the room like I was still on watch. Like I was still over there. She tried to talk. Asked me about people from my unit, about what it was like. I answered in half sentences. It was hot. It was fine. We managed. I didn't tell her about the nightmares. Or the feeling of waking up drenched in sweat, heart racing, convinced I was still in danger. I didn't tell her about the sound of that one gunshot I couldn't get out of my head. I didn't tell her that I hadn't slept more than 2 hours in a row since I got home. Because what was the point? How do you explain war to someone who's never seen it? How do you describe the weight of losing someone mid-sentence? The guilt of walking away when others didn't? The emptiness that creeps in when the danger is gone but the fear stays? She didn't ask again that night. But I saw it in her eyes. The confusion. The ache. The quiet fear. She didn't know how to help me. And I didn't know how to let her. For days we danced around each other like strangers living in the same house. She would knock softly before entering my room. I would stay up late, sitting in the dark, staring at the wall. She'd leave breakfast on the table. I'd pretend to eat. Every sound felt too loud. Every silence felt even louder. And every time I caught my reflection in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. Sunken eyes. Jaw clenched. Shoulders tense. That wasn't Lisa. That was someone who survived. But surviving didn't mean healing. It didn't mean I was okay. I started to wonder if I'd ever be. One night, I walked past Mom's room and heard her crying. She was on the phone with someone, maybe Aunt Sarah. She said she's back, but it's like she's not. I don't know how to reach her. I don't know if I can. I stood outside the door for a long time. Frozen. Part of me wanted to knock, to go in, to say something. Anything. But I couldn't move. Because I didn't know how to be Lisa anymore. I didn't know how to be a daughter. I only knew how to be a soldier. And the scariest part wasn't that my mother didn't recognize me. It was that I didn't recognize myself. She'd make my favorite food, mac and cheese with too much butter. The kind that was so rich it left a little grease at the edges of the bowl, the way I liked it when I was 12. I knew she made it because she was trying. Trying to remind me of the girl I used to be. Trying to bring me back with memories, with taste, with something simple. She'd sit next to me on the couch, 2 mugs of tea in her hands, pretending we were just 2 women relaxing after a long day. She'd ask about my deployment, about my friends, about the places I saw. But every word felt like a mountain to climb. Not because I didn't want to talk, but because I didn't know how anymore. The words didn't come the way they used to. So I'd say the only thing I could, "I'm fine, Mom. Just tired." She'd nod slowly like she understood. But I could feel her disappointment behind her smile. Not the angry kind, no, she wasn't angry. It was the soft, aching kind of disappointment. The kind that comes when you've been hoping and praying and waiting, and the door still won't open. But what I really meant when I said, "I'm fine," wasn't that I was okay. What I meant was, I don't know how to be your daughter anymore. Because being her daughter meant laughing easily, hugging tight, trusting the world. It meant jokes over dinner and staying up to watch old movies. It meant feeling safe. And I didn't know how to feel safe anymore. I'd sit on the couch with her, eyes on the TV but mind somewhere else. A street corner in Kandahar. A dusty rooftop. A memory I couldn't shake. Every sudden sound in the show, a door slam, a gunshot, even a raised voice would send a jolt down my spine. She'd flinch too, watching me out of the corner of her eye, pretending she didn't notice. But I knew she did. Sometimes she'd reach for my hand. I'd let her. But I wouldn't squeeze back. I didn't know how. Something inside me had forgotten. The house was quiet those days. Too quiet. And every time she tried to fill that silence with love, I pulled further away. Not because I wanted to, but because I was afraid she'd see just how far gone I really was. Then came that night. I couldn't sleep again. It was past 2 a.m. The ceiling fan spun above me, slow and steady, casting soft shadows across the room. I lay there with my hands over my chest, counting the spins, hoping to trick myself into peace. That's when I heard her. At first, I thought it was just the floor creaking. But then I heard her voice, quiet, trembling. She was on the phone. I froze. Her room was just on the other side of the wall. Thin drywall like the kind in old houses. It didn't hide much. I held my breath, listening. She said, "I don't know who came back in Lisa's place." My heart dropped. She looks like her, but my baby's gone. I try to talk to her, May. I really try. But it's like she's not there. Her body's home, but her heart, it's somewhere else. I don't know how to reach her. I covered my mouth with both hands. My chest felt tight, like something inside had cracked open. Not a break, not a snap, but a slow aching tear. The kind you don't notice until it's already bleeding. She kept talking. I make her food. I sit with her. I ask about her days. But it's like she's behind glass. Like I'm yelling through water. She was crying now. I could hear her trying to keep it quiet, muffling her sobs with a pillow. But I could still hear every word. And every word felt like a knife. I just want my daughter back. I miss her laugh. I miss the way she used to hug me for no reason. Now I hug her and she stands there like she's somewhere else. Like she's afraid to feel anything. I turned onto my side, curled up, and buried my face in the pillow. That was when the tears finally came. Slow at first, like tiny cracks in a dam. Then all at once. It was the first time I cried since the war. And it wasn't for Kenny or for the other soldiers we lost. It wasn't for the fear or the trauma or the endless nights I spent on watch. It was for her. For my mother. For the pain I'd caused her without meaning to. For the distance I'd created. For the daughter she'd been waiting to welcome home, who never truly arrived. I cried for myself too. For the version of me that I couldn't find anymore. For the little girl who once danced in the kitchen, who once begged her mom to braid her hair before school. Who once believed the world was safe. That girl was gone. But maybe through the tears I could start to reach for her again. Because in the quiet sobs of my mother's voice I heard love. Not pity. Not frustration. Just love. Exhausted, aching love. And in that moment I realized something. Maybe I didn't need to become the same girl I was. Maybe I just needed to let my mother hold the version of me that survived. Because she wasn't waiting for perfect. She was waiting for honest. For present. For real. And for the first time since I stepped off that plane. I wanted to try. One Sunday the light was soft in the living room. I remember that detail for some reason, the sunlight cutting through the curtains just enough to make the dust in the air visible. It was quiet. Too quiet. I had been sitting on the couch, staring at the television, not really watching. The sound was on, but it felt like background noise in someone else's life. I didn't hear her come down from the attic. She walked in carrying an old box. A beat-up, faded cardboard box with my name scribbled on the side in pink crayon, Lisa's stuff. My heart stopped a little when I saw it. She didn't say anything at first. Just came over and set it down in front of me, then sat beside me slowly like she didn't want to spook me. Like I was a deer that might run if she moved too fast. She opened the box gently, her fingers brushing over the flaps like she was handling something sacred. And in a way, she was. Inside were pieces of a girl I hadn't seen in years. Drawings I'd made when I was 6, crayon rainbows and stick figures with giant smiles. Old birthday cards. A friendship bracelet I made at summer camp. A faded photo of me at age 10, grinning wildly, one missing front tooth, arms around a stuffed bear I used to drag around everywhere like it was my job. That bear was in the box too. Worn and floppy now, one eye missing. I stared at it like it belonged to someone else. She pulled it out and held it gently in her lap, looking at me with eyes full of so many emotions I couldn't name them all. Sadness, hope, love, grief, and something else. Something stronger. This, she said softly, is who you were. Her voice cracked, but she kept going. But I'll love whoever you are now too. And that broke something in me. I hadn't cried in front of her. Not once since I came home. I'd kept it all buried. Tight-lipped. Iron-willed. A soldier, not a daughter. But when she said those words, something cracked through the armor I'd spent so long building. I didn't cry quietly. I sobbed. The kind of sob that comes from your chest, from a place too deep to hide. I doubled over into her arms and just let go of the guilt, of the silence, of the pain I couldn't name. And she didn't say a word. She just held me. Not like a soldier. Not like someone who needed fixing. But like a mother holds her child. Her hand stroked my back in slow, steady circles, just like she used to when I had nightmares as a kid. I hadn't realized how much I missed being held like that, how much I needed it. For the first time since I returned, I didn't resist. I let her see me. Not the uniform. Not the polite smiles. Me. Through tears, I told her everything. About Kenny. About the way he smiled right before the shot. About the look on his face, frozen in time, and how I couldn't stop seeing it at night when I tried to sleep. I told her about the dreams, the ones that jolted me awake in the middle of the night, my heart racing, body shaking, convinced I was still in danger. I told her how I couldn't stand the sound of fireworks anymore, how I flinched at loud noises, how I scanned every room for exits without even thinking. I told her I felt broken. And the whole time, she just listened. No judgment. No pity. No advice. Just love. That kind of quiet love that holds you together when you're too tired to hold yourself. She didn't try to tell me it was going to be okay. She didn't offer any cliches or forced optimism. She just sat there, her arms around me, letting me break. Letting me release the version of myself I'd been clinging to, the silent, strong, unreachable version who never needed help. That's when I realized something. Maybe I didn't come back the same. But I came back. Maybe I wasn't the bubbly girl who used to hum songs in the shower or scribble poems in notebooks. Maybe that girl was gone. But that didn't mean I was gone. It didn't mean I was lost forever. Being broken didn't mean I was unrecognizable. It just meant I had been through something that changed me. And now I was slowly, painfully, trying to heal. Healing didn't look like what I thought it would. It didn't look like sunshine and therapy sessions and quick recoveries. It looked like one small moment on a quiet Sunday morning when someone who loved me reminded me that I didn't have to earn their love back. That I was allowed to be messy. That I was allowed to fall apart. That I was allowed to come home, even if I came home different. I looked at that teddy bear in her lap and remembered all the nights I used to cling to it for comfort. And now here I was again, clinging to something familiar, something soft, something safe. Only this time it wasn't a stuffed toy. It was her. It was the sound of her breathing steady while I cried. It was the warmth of her arms around me. It was the quiet promise in her voice when she said, "We'll get through this. Together." And in that moment, for the first time in what felt like forever, I believed her. I still have a long way to go. Some days are easier. Others feel like I'm right back there in the sand listening for sounds that aren't really there. But now, I'm not facing it alone. I still carry the past with me, but I don't let it define me. And slowly, piece by piece, I'm learning how to smile again. Not the old Lisa's smile, but something new, something real. And maybe that's what healing is. Not going back, but going forward with love, with pain, with truth. One breath at a time. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. It helps more people hear voices like Lisa's. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful true life stories that deserve to be heard. And remember, sometimes the quietest battles are the ones that need the most love. White heavy check mark like if you felt this. Bell subscribe for more real stories. Red heart share to help others understand.